This is John McEntee here from the Rock Fantasy Files, and we have legendary death metal guitar player Rick Rozz here, formerly of Death, Massacre, Mantas, M Inc., and many other projects. And I'm extremely proud to be here talking to him, and I look forward to digging deep into what I consider a legendary career. Well, I know he's kind of maybe too humble to say it's legendary, but I totally appreciate it. And I just guess we'll start off with just getting to know your current activities that you're doing at the moment.
All right, cool, yo. Thanks for having me, John. I really appreciate it. It's very flattering.
Thank
I
you.
really haven't been doing too much. Just I've been helping out a few bands that have contacted me via Facebook, just on doing some whammy solos, and a band called Necronemesis out of Puerto Rico, a band called Feed the Corpses to the Pigs, a band called Dawn of End, and a band called The Sinter. Now, most of those are all recordings. There's one I'm actually going to fly out and play on a song instead of doing a recording. I'll be flying out to New Hampshire, Manchester area in June to do Dawn of Eternity with the band Dawn of End. So
And
that should be fun.
that's going to be a live performance.
Yes, sir.
Awesome! Wow, that's cool. That sounds that would be definitely something really cool to check out. I'm sure people really enjoy that. I guess we'll get start at the beginning. At least from what I know, at least is the Mantis years. Basically, want to know. I guess how did that Mantis come together, and basically what was your part in like the early songwriting? Your contribution to that band in general.
Well, I met the pretty much was the main singer drummer in art class, and we hit it off with some just with music in general, and formed the band with another guitar player. I can't remember his name, but we were really into Venom, so that kind of clicked there, and that's how we got the name for the band as well from Jeff Dunn from Mantis. We just went ahead and snagged his stage name and made it.
Yeah, I
That
used
was
to do
cool.
that too. I used to look through either albums or just cool band names. People in bands and look for a name of my early bands too. So I totally get that.
No, no, it was really cool. So, and I got to meet the guy and tell him that, so he got a kick out of it. So, but yeah, me and Chuck pretty much co-wrote everything in a perspective, but it was different then. We would just come up with riffs and then go into his room with the dual cassette player, and I put my riff down and he put his riff down, and we would go back and forth and try and work out stuff. So it was pretty simple. He had his songs and I had my songs, and just kind of like not to go forward, but like the Leprosy record, I would write some songs, he would write some songs, and then we would co-write some stuff and throw some riffs together. So
So was Mantis something that was it you, Chuck, and Cam kind of formed that all together as a unit, or was it like a band before that, and that was the lineup that kind of started working on stuff?
no, it was definitely a band prior to that until I met Chuck at a backyard party in 1982. And then we hit that off, and he had a garage, and yeah, and he was also wanted to sing and stuff. So it was kind of cool. Chuck was singing a couple of songs, and the drummer was singing a few songs, and yeah, it was. Yeah, so it was definitely a band prior,
Yeah, yeah.
but
So
not really a band. It was just like a hang out in an apartment band with little practice amps and write tunes. You know what I mean? So it
yeah,
wasn't really like jamming, but
yeah. Well, you still have some cool, early demo material and rehearsals that are out there that I thought really made an impact on the underground and stuff. Was Were all you guys really into like that tape trading scene, or how did all that stuff really get out there? Because I know that material was you know pretty pretty impressive at the time. From what I remember.
no, Chuck definitely grabbed the ball and rolled with that. I mean, it's not like I didn't spend time with the guy when he was dubbing him off, but he was doing all the mailing and answering mail and this and that and the other. And I still have a bunch of those letters, which is kind of funny from a long time ago.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
Chuck pretty much took care of that stuff and answered all the mail and stuff like that. Yeah.
Basically, the transition from Mantis to Death. I mean, it seems like was pretty much the same band almost. So I'm
No,
just kind of curious how that all came together.
yeah, it was the exact same band. We did a show at the Knights of Columbus Hall with a band called Tempter. That was actually like, we had played shows prior to that, but that was actually a show where we actually opened up for a band.
Yeah.
And after that evening, I was let go from the band, and the band broke up, and then 2 weeks later we were back together again and reformed underneath Death, which Chuck came up with the name, and the drummer singer did the logo, and yeah.
So it was basically once Mantas when Mantas ended and Death began, Death was pretty much Chuck's thing for the most part, and he asked you to join back in with them, or how
We just reformed. It was really a simpleton thing. It was like literally
no thought put into
it. Yeah. We just changed the name. We were cool with it. You know what I mean? And yeah.
The Reign of Terror demo, when was that one done? That was the one done as Death, right? Or because I've have copies of it as Mantas and I have copies of it as Death. So that's where I wanted to get that kind of straightened out.
No, it was Death. We did that at a place called Music City in Orlando, Florida, and I believe that was like really early '84. And it was live to like, I don't even know if it was a 4-track or an 8-track reel-to-reel thing. And yeah. You could barely hear the drums. You could barely hear the vocals, and the toms were really loud. And yeah, we played everything live, and we actually just used like some Kramer guitars. Me and Chuck used some Kramer guitars, and we used all the equipment there from that place in Music City. That is, it was Greg Huber, is the guy that did the demo. So he was like the first. It really wasn't a studio, but it was the first like that kind of thing. Even though the jam box sounded a little better, but yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I owe that guy a lot. So he did a lot for me, and since I've been in music, up until a few years ago. So it was pretty cool.
Oh, awesome! And the lineup for the Reign of Terror demo was basically the same lineup as the Mantas lineup. Okay, it was just the three. Okay,
Chuck actually whammy bars on that, man. So it's pretty fun.
You stealing some of your whammy bar thunder.
It wasn't to do with that. It was just freaking cool that he was doing it. I was like, look at Chuck with the whammy. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, that's killer. It's a great great demo. And then was that basically the lineup for Death until Chuck decided to leave to go to Canada?
Well, I know that a couple of guys came down before he did that, I believe. And then after that, because Cam's the drummer, other singer, stayed with him for a little bit, and that's Scott Carlson. I can't think of the other cat's name.
Oh, from Repulsion, yeah, Scott Carlson. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that he came down.
So those cats came down, and basically I was let go, and because it was a guitar player, bass player combo. Yeah. And then that fell apart, and that's when I believe Chuck went to Frisco and
went to Canada first, right? Before that?
No, not that. I said went to Slaughter first. Yeah, went to Canada first, hung out with the Slaughter guys, did that, then came back, then went to Frisco and met up with Chris Reifert. Yeah, I forgot about Canada. Sorry.
Yeah, short term. And between Canada and going to Frisco, he didn't do Death in Florida. He basically just like kind of wanted to reset it up in San Francisco after maybe being in contact with Chris, I guess.
I'm assuming. I don't think he was in contact with Chris until he got there, because he went out there when he had a manager, and I don't know the whole story of that. That was totally out of my.
Yeah, so you weren't involved in that at all at that time.
No, but I'm pretty sure he didn't know Chris. He met Chris when he was out there. He just went out there on a whim and tried to put the band together.
Personally, I think that was it Mutilation demo. It was really, really good, good demo, and obviously the first album's great. So I think it was a good choice for sure.
I agree.
What's that?
I said I agree 100%. It's a really good record.
Yeah. So when he originally left for Canada, then is that when Massacre first kind of came into being, or was this something that was going on before your involvement?
Well, Massacre was already together, not with me, but I was called.
Alan West was.
Yeah, I was called in '85 by the Mantas drummer singer that ended up singing for Massacre. Yeah, replacing the original Massacre singer was Mark Brentz, and then Alan West was also in there, and Michael Borders. But so I got a call I got a call because Bill Andrews was interested in having me in the band, so I went ahead and moved out there and joined the band, and then we ended up writing songs and never played a show with Alan West or anything like that. And well, we ended up writing most of the From Beyond material and stuff back then.
It would have been pretty badass though to hear you and Alan West play to kind of mix those two styles. Probably would have been pretty monstrous, I thought, you know.
Never got a chance to do that. They had a handful of songs when I joined the band. They already had a demo done,
Yeah.
and yeah, so it just didn't. We had a couple of rehearsals, and then Billy let Alan go from the band, and then I was the only guitar player, and then he let Michael Borders go, and then Terry Butler was hired, and it was Billy's band, so he made the choices, and I was
Yeah.
just there to hang. I wasn't doing anything, so it was cool.
Well, did you play in any bands between when Death and you got the gig for Massacre?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. So you were
That wasn't
totally.
that wasn't that big of a break, man. It was like a year maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
84, 85. Well, Mantas was like 83, 84, 85 came along. I think that's when he moved to Tampa, and Billy Andrews was interested in having me in the band. So yeah, 85, 86 was Massacre, and then we went to do the show with Megadeth and Overkill at the Tampa Bay Armory, and we didn't get to play. And I was kind of upset about that and kind of bummed out. And this dude comes up to me and says, "Hey, Chuck's back in town," and I ended up going to Chuck's house, and we ended up talking, and then I put the Leprosy lineup back together again. So that's how
Awesome.
that all.
For on the From Beyond album, what I was just curious about was you used most of the songs from the Chamber of Ages demo on there, but you didn't use any of the earlier material. I'm assuming that maybe it was because Alan West wrote that stuff more on
Exactly.
guitar. You didn't want to use it, but then why wasn't any of the material from the Second Coming demo used? Was it What was the reason for that one? Just out of curiosity.
Totally different band, totally different sound. It shouldn't have been called Massacre, but it just happened to we just
Oh,
happened to go
okay.
with that.
Okay,
But
so
yeah,
they
there was a whole break in between there because the Leprosy album happened as well, and then we split up and ended up putting Massacre back together again, and that's why those From Beyond songs came out in '91 on a
yeah,
record. On a record that was just due to Digby Pearson from Earache being a fan. So
which
yeah, I mean it was put out as a couple of people put out some releases on CD and cassette and this and that and the other, but
yeah,
it was a totally different vibe from Beyond and From Beyond songs and all that. So it was kind of like yeah, it was definitely had some funk influence. It was kind of like some Suicidal meets I don't even know.
hmm, yeah,
So that's what I thought it was because the bass player Butch Gonzalez is a really badass funk bass player and a really badass metal bass player,
yeah,
and Joe Cangelosi from Whiplash and Creator, he's a badass too, from New York. So yeah,
yeah.
it was
He's
it was a
great,
real it
Joey.
was a fun time, man. It was cool.
Yeah. I just didn't. I don't know. It's weird. Maybe in just such a fan of the Massacre stuff that didn't realize it being that you know that varied as far as influences go. But maybe it is. Maybe I just such a fan of the band that I was just happy to hear it because I've actually heard the Second Coming demo way after I didn't even know it existed until probably about 10 years ago. And for me, it was just super happy to hear you guys playing something. So maybe I was a little blinded by my, you know, my fanboyage of the band or whatever. But, um, okay, then basically, um, you got back, you told a story about meeting Chuck at the show and kind of getting back into Death in '87, and basically you did the Scream Bloody Gore tour, which I seen you guys play at the Bay Ridge, Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. What was that place called? Sundance. Which was a really killer show, and I noticed that you played a couple songs off Leprosy on that. I think it was I think it was Pull the Plug or Leprosy, but it could be something else. I didn't, it's a long time ago. I can't quite remember.
Yeah, I think you're right. I believe those were the first two songs written, and those were both written by Chuck. But yeah, I didn't meet Chuck at the show. I met some guy at a show that told me that Chuck was coming back into town.
Yeah.
Then I went to Chuck's house. But yeah. I think you're correct on Pull the Plug and Leprosy being the first two songs off of that record we played live, along with the Scream Bloody Gore album.
But some of the songs on the Scream Bloody Gore record were songs that were already written at the time of when the first Death demo. I can't remember all the track listings, but I mean, I have rehearsals from those days, and it has like Evil Dead, it has Mutilation. Go ahead.
No, Mutilation I wasn't on. That wasn't back then, but Evil Dead was definitely written back in the 83, 84 era.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a couple other ones. So I guess it was probably pretty easy to get back into the groove since you already probably played the songs or was there when they were writing or whatever. So, but yeah. So
no, we had to learn them. You know, me and Terry had to learn the songs. Chuck taught us the tunes.
Yeah,
we got right into rehearsal because he wanted to tour the record. So we got out, and it happened fairly quickly, actually.
But he ended up coming. Did he come back right after the recording of the album? Was it just like he knew that he wasn't going to continue with Chris?
He wanted to come home. As far as I know he wanted to come home. I think he came back once, and I believe Chris came with him.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm back, and then he came back to Chris and say, I think I'm going to relocate, and you're more than welcome to come. And Chris wasn't really interested in doing that. That's as far as I know. So,
yeah.
I never asked Chuck the story. I never talked to Chris about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, maybe. I mean, Chris was really young at the time. Probably didn't want to move all the way across the country or whatnot, you know. Right. And
still in school and living at home, and yeah.
So, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
But I definitely think he did like I said before, a stellar job on the album. I actually really, really like the drum playing on Scream Bloody Gore. I mean, I think Bill Andrews also is great on Leprosy too. They're kind of two different style of drummers, but Chris really accented those songs well. Like gave it a good attack to it, in my opinion.
I agree.
You know, and I love the stuff he does with Autopsy. He just has a certain chaoticness that makes it just really, really
very, very well put. I agree.
You know, it's like a control chaos or something, you know.
Control chaos. That's
but that's it, you know, it's death metal, so it works that way, you know. So on the Leprosy album, you know, I guess tell us about the writing for that. I mean, was it a group effort, or were you doing it as a band, or was it basically Chuck had everything kind of planned out already by the time you guys came to the picture of doing that?
Well, Bill and Terry lived in Tampa, so me and Chuck would get together and we would collaborate on riffs. Like Pull the Plug and Leprosy were already written, so I wrote Primitive Ways my own, and then the other 4 or 5 were co-written between the two of us.
Yeah.
So we would just co-write. I did it the same way, We'd write one riff, then put it on a cassette player, and then put the other dual thing on and do the other riff, and then have both riffs on a cassette and put it together that way. Practice our solos in the bedroom. That's literally, we just did it in this bedroom with the dual cassette player and some practice amps, and then we presented them to Terry because I believe we were jamming out in Tampa at Padlock Mini Storage or something like that. We weren't jamming at Chuck's house at that time, so we would just put songs together and then cruise out there together in his Chevy Chevette, and yeah, it's good times, man. It was
Chuck was, because Chuck's originally from Orlando, but was he living in Tampa at that time?
No, we were both living here in the Altamont area.
Oh,
Altamont Springs. Terry and Bill lived in Tampa.
Oh, okay.
Which is where Massacre is based out of, and that's how I got to meet those guys when I got the call to come. Hey, you want to come join Massacre? Yeah. So I thought of them right off the bat, as far as throwing them at Chuck, saying, "Hey, man, we got this is going on, and ain't really nothing going on with Massacre, and got this guy and that guy, and you want to try it out." And
it worked pretty damn good.
Yeah. Well, those guys got a little career out of it too, so it was good for them.
It was good for everybody involved in the situation, really. It's a great.
Right.
I mean, Leprosy is a great album, So.
No, it was a lot of fun. It was cool.
it's awesome to be part of. And how was the touring for that album, the Leprosy album?
Well, we did the Ultimate Revenge tour after we did the video, and we ended up, I don't remember if we finished that whole tour or we came home a little early or
Yeah, it was the Dark
that.
Angel, and it was,
Yeah,
yeah, you guys in Dark Angel. It was an opener too, wasn't it?
yeah, I don't remember.
I don't
There was
remember
nobody
either.
tracking. I don't
Yeah.
remember. Yeah, there was a little bit of conflict in with the Death and Dark Angel camp. And, I thought it was really childish and didn't get involved in it. So I ended up riding with the Dark Angel guys on their motorhome. So sure that didn't help my freaking career in the band.
Yeah.
But I had a good time and I got to meet those guys and they were a freaking riot. And
Yeah.
it was good
It
stuff.
seems like the Dark Angel guys are really cool guys. So,
Ridiculous. You know, if you can't get along with them, you're a freaking moron.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so what was it? Was it after the Dark Angel tour? Because when you left, because I'm trying to think, I remember seeing Death play at CBGB's with Dead Brain Cells. Was
I was
that,
there.
yeah, was that,
Music seminar.
oh, yeah, that's
I
right.
was, I think that was
CMJ.
before.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and Tommy Prong was running from Prong and was running sound.
Yeah. So was that before Leprosy or was that after that tour
Well,
with Dark?
there,
I forget.
there might have been a Dead Brain Cells tour for all I remember. I don't, I really don't remember.
I
There's
don't
a little
Yeah,
void there.
actually I just talked to the Dead Brain Cells guys and I was asking them the same thing like did you guys, cuz I thought it was a tour you guys did with Death, but I guess it was just maybe a few shows, like maybe like a connected somehow on tour. But I just remember seeing the show at CBGB's. Yeah, it must have been a CMJ thing because they used to always have like one really cool show at CMJ at CBGB's back then. And but I want to say it was for the Leprosy album, but I don't remember if it was.
Could be, I don't know either. But I think Ludacris was there too.
Yeah, it could have
Or
been. Yeah, it sounds right.
there was a couple of, it was more hardcore stuff. I remember Scaglione from Whiplash, the original Whiplash drummer, was playing with somebody, and I think it might have been Ludacris or Scatterbrain or one of those other New
Yeah,
York bands.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. It
that
could have
was
been.
the old CBs. I got to play it. It was cool. We got picked up by a limo at the airport.
Awesome.
That's hysterical, dude. Are you fucking kidding me? On that big blue Lincoln.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
cool. Traveling like Led Zeppelin.
It was friggin' hysterical. Yeah, right, pulling out the CBs. You know what I mean? I was like, damn. This. they were I guess they were trying to make us feel special.
Hey, that's cool. Awesome if they're.
I know it was freaking killer. Freaking hysterical. Laughing the whole way. I
Yeah.
was like, this. Anyway, yeah, good times, good times.
Yeah, that's totally awesome. So basically wasn't too much after that Dark Angel tour is when you were basically, if I guess, fired from the band or let go, we'll
Yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah. My services were no longer needed.
Yeah. So but you were already working with Chuck at that time on some of the material for spiritual healing?
We all were doing stuff like that. We did the same thing when we did the Scream Buddy Gore tour, like playing live. We'd always be like working on riffs here and there and the other. And I don't remember exact titles or exact riffs. I'm not going to go guessing
Yeah,
on that
big.
stuff.
Yeah, I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying. Being picky. I'm just
But
curious if that was already kind of on its way. Like you know.
I'm pretty sure that there was a couple at rehearsal. I mean, on tour, but I could be wrong, man. I don't know.
Yeah, because I
I
mean,
have no clue.
yeah, I mean, I definitely thought there was a big change from leprosy to spiritual healing as far as just I don't know. It's just with the production and just the way that it came across. It came across as more of a, I don't know, almost a mature album. Like
Hmm.
Leprosy still had that immature kind of like screw you metal kind of thing. And you could just tell there was a big change because once Spiritual Healing came out, the lyrics just seemed a lot more, I don't know, almost socially conscious or something like that. It was really odd for a raging death metal kid, and hearing those kind of lyrics. I was kind of like, it almost seemed like more of what you would expect from a crossover band or something like that kind of lyrics.
Well, he's an intelligent guy, you know what I mean? And Leprosy was a pretty dark record, man. He was just gone through a lot of stuff in life, you know what I mean? And some extreme bloody gore. So
Yeah.
Spiritual Healing probably has something to do with it too, you know? So
Yeah. Well, I just think at a certain point, maybe he just didn't want to sing about regurgitated guts and stuff like that. Even though for me, it's a fun, but I understand some people at a certain point probably want to do something different,
sure, totally understand.
you know? So, so you don't, would you say that your solo style would be fitting on Spiritual Healing? I know you can't do any, you wouldn't be playing like, ah, the guitar
Like
player.
Murphy,
Yeah,
James
James
Murphy.
Murphy or nothing like that. But
It would have
originally, was Chuck looking for that, or what was that?
Well, there's no doubt that he wanted a more shredder of a guitar player, but then it became a competition. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
thought it was separation of the two, and I don't know. You know what I mean? Obviously, I didn't get the opportunity to go ahead and see what was going to happen. So, but he knew I didn't practice enough with solos, and I wasn't really looking to get into a competition, in a shredding competition and trade solos, and no, because KK Downing and Glenn Tipton played nothing alike. So
yeah.
I,
So
I
you
thought,
want? Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was
Yes,
just thinking the separation was cool.
yeah. But when you were even starting to write some of the material for Spiritual Healing, was it already kind of a problem because you didn't want to play in that, you know, say more technically fluent style, and not have the kind of the what I considered a cool whammy bar style or whatnot, which I thought was great for death, but it's not my band.
Well, no, no, it's totally cool. You know what I mean? I don't really, like I said, I don't really remember sitting down and writing Spiritual Healing stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was probably more Terry and stuff, but I want to say that there were some riffs. Like I know that I had written a couple of riffs that ended up on the record when we were playing them live, just jamming around at sound checks and stuff like that.
Yes.
And as far as like working on tunes and stuff, yeah, and we never worked on solos till the end. We would get the song all finished and figure out
Okay.
where we're gonna.
So you weren't
Yeah,
really
so
at that point, really, of
I can play that. I don't think Spiritual Healing is like overly technical. You know what I mean?
I
You know,
don't think no, I don't think it's overly technical. I just think that it's you could tell the progression.
yeah, definitely. Well, with a better guitar player a better solo player and maturity with lyrics,
Yeah, it was
and then
almost
stuff.
like to me, it's almost like each album, is like a step a little more complex, just a little more complex. First couple were pretty primitive, but then once it gets to Spiritual Healing, it's a tad bit more refined. And then once you get the Human, is where you really see, okay, he's on another page or whatever. He wants to move forward with that
It's
stuff
his
today. Far,
totally his
yeah,
career, his band. I totally respected that. That's why I had no problem with it when even though he didn't ask me himself or tell me himself, it was cool. You know what I mean? Shit happens.
yeah,
Move on.
yeah. So, tell us about like how the whole Massacre thing came together, again, to do the From Beyond album and all that stuff. Cause, I know there's the debacle with Death on the European tour, and it kind of fell together after that. But if you could kind of explain that a little bit, I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, pretty much that's how the lineup got back together again. Is because obviously Death went over to Europe without Chuck, and Terry had called me while he was over there and said, "Hey, you think about putting Massacre back together again?" And he goes, "I don't think we're going to be in Death." And at the time, we had the Second Coming lineup together with Joe Cangelosi, and Butch Gonzalez. So when I got that call from Terry, and we agreed to go ahead and do that. And of course, I talked to Earache and this and that, the other, because we were already talking to Earache. We didn't, anyways. And so they were totally stoked. Oh, Bill and Terry, they're like, hell yeah. So, and I had tell Joey and Butch, I've never had to do that stuff before, and I had to tell them, hey guys, we're getting the other lineup back together again, and this and that and the other. But there was no hard feelings as far as I know.
Well, it would have been an awkward situation because you were actually had a version of Massacre, I guess, even though it wasn't, even though you say now it really wasn't Massacre, but at that time it must have obviously it felt like Massacre to some extent. And then you have, Bill or Terry contacted you saying you want to, reform Massacre. We have this deal and it's going to be with us. It could be an awkward situation. I mean, I'm happy that it seemed like you said everybody was pretty cool about it,
Well, it'd be kind of odd releasing the Second Coming stuff and not going back to Bill and Terry and doing the From Beyond material that Davey Pearson at Earache Records was a fan of, because David Vincent called me and he relayed a message from Digby saying, hey, I'd like to put out a Massacre record, and that's how that came about. We weren't shopping for a record deal.
Yeah.
So that record wouldn't have happened if Digby Pearson wouldn't have been interested in the band.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And of course he's going to want guys on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he had heard the Massacre demos, and that the Second Coming stuff sounded nothing like the earlier Massacre demos, or so that's probably what he wanted, and that's what I thought, and we did anyway. So it was
did you actually send the Second Coming demo to Digby to hear it afterwards, just to see if he liked it, or wasn't he, you just were like, okay, forget about it, just moving on?
I don't remember if he heard it or not, but I know Kerrang magazine came down to the house that I was renting and we were rehearsing in, and they watched rehearsals and did some investigation, because Earache gave us a little bit of money to get a PA system, which we did get the PA system.
Yeah.
And Earache was very helpful, man, in the beginning. It was really, really cool. It's just, they respected it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't long after that. We did a couple of shows. We did a couple of shows around Florida with that lineup, and we had a lot of fun. At least me, Joey, and Butch did. And and then I got that phone call from Terry, and then it was like tides changed. I was like, whoa, that was quick. And next thing we know, we're relearning those songs from 85 and 86 to go into the studio and record them in 1990, and for them to be released in 91.
Yeah.
So way late. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
No, I said it's better late than never. At least we got to do the record. It was fun, and it came. Good time.
Yeah, it's actually crazy because the you basically put out the record, what, 7 years after, 6 years probably after the demo. At least some of those songs were written. You finally got kind of a deal with it, I guess. But it makes sense because especially having 3/4 of the Leprosy lineup, for any record label at that time, especially, that's a pretty good strong band to have. Plus, him being a fan of the band in general. I mean, that's just kind of a no-brainer for almost any label to want to sign, at least give a chance.
Right, but for them to call you out of the blue, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean,
and we asked, hey, we're from Death and Massacre, and we did this thing, we're doing that. And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll give you a chance. No, it's got a call from David Vincent, thanks to Digby Pearson, and there you go.
Yeah. Closer to modern days. I guess just I was curious about this, Death to All tour. I know that they were supposed to do a kind of like a, I don't know, some kind of old school version of this that they wanted you involved in, and I'd like to just get your opinion on it, or just kind of lowdown from your side of things.
Yeah, they were going to do a Scream Bloody Gore Leprosy one, and I just really wasn't interested. We had done the DTA tour with the Obituary Massacre did, and right prior to that. And
did you play on any of the tour?
Just in Massacre. I didn't play on stage with DTA.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Obituary and DTA, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I do remember that. I forgot that you played it with Massacre. Because that was after you did the Back from Beyond album, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I just didn't feel like I didn't feel like getting involved in that, man, after the experience with everything, other than, nothing against the musicians in the band or anything like that, and DTA or Obituary or anybody or whatever. Yeah, I just didn't feel like partaking.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. Okay, well then what about the Back from Beyond album? I actually it totally slipped my mind that you even did that, and then recently I just went back listened to the album, and I think I mean the album's pretty damn good actually, but how did that all kind of come together?
Well, there was a few projects that me and the drummer Mike Mazzanetto were in. Well, especially M Inc. This was a project prior to that,
Hmm.
and that's how we ended up meeting up with Terry Butler again. He invited M Inc. to come play with Obituary. But once that all came about after the M Inc. thing, me and Mike Mazzanetto wrote all the Back from Beyond tunes, and Terry Butler wrote one of the tunes on there, and we just got everything nice and tight, and they would come down and learn the tunes, and we did it at CGM Studios with Tim Vasquez, and yeah, for Century Media Records, and it was a lot of fun, man. It was cool, and that lasted 4 years, so we had a good time, and it fell apart, and that's about it.
Yeah. So it was no you weren't working on any other material for another album or anything. I mean, because you just have just that album as far as I'm concerned, right? Since you went back with it.
Yeah, they came together pretty quick. So no, weren't writing. I wasn't writing anything else. We had written that record. I mean, me and Massinetto might have had a handful of other songs, but we were just that's what we did. We just get together and jam and record tunes and have the ideas on the Zoom camera and
Mm-hmm.
play. Just, break them down and send them off. Hey, you dig this? Hey, you dig this? That way you can listen to it and put lyrics to it without having to freaking record it, and it sounds good enough. So it's kind of like modern day jam box.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was cool.
So
I
that's
mean,
pretty much how that came together.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was like I said, I listened to it, I thought it sounded really good. It was really, really heavy album. It definitely has the vibe of Massacre. So it could definitely fit for sure. So I think he did a good job with that. Um I guess pretty much the last question I have is, I guess, just just let me know kind of the story behind the Promise album that you did. Um, because obviously, I mean, in my opinion, the album probably would have been better under a different band name. Because I think just the Massacre fans were just
Yeah.
not. It wasn't Massacre. I mean, yeah, it was you guys and Massacre doing it, but musically, it really wasn't Massacre. At least in my opinion,
No, I agree.
kind
Should
of
have been
like a second coming thing for you. We're saying, it's should have been
correct.
probably called something else.
Yep, I agree 100%.
But I do think that there's, maybe there's, with a band like Massacre, obviously, you doing it under that name, it gets more exposure. But with it being so different, it was, yeah, not in
Yeah,
my opinion, not the best idea.
wasn't a good idea they used that band name, you know. But it happened, and that was that.
Yeah. And anything else you want to say about the album, or um, you know,
But Promise record,
what's that?
the Promise album.
Yeah. Or is just something you just rather just
Well, it
forget
was
it?
okay. It was totally different, and I agree with you 100%. The name of the band should have been changed, and this, that, and the other. But the singer denies it to the freaking hilt that he had anything to do with it. But we wrote that whole freaking record in his apartment, and that's all I'll say about that. Other than he's really into. We were both very into Typo Negative. Then he got really heavy into the vampire thing and wore a trench coat and big
Yeah.
fangs. But yeah, so I'm not going to start ripping on people.
Well,
But
this is the
yeah, so
thing.
that's
Yeah.
I'm just going along with his vibe, man. That's all. I was cool with it. I was Typo Negative fan.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't. I mean, I agree. People should just do what they want to do or whatever. I just sometimes I do believe there's a point when things are so different that it's just okay. It should just be marketed as something else. Just because
Agreed.
because you can't expect people are hearing from beyond to be excited to hear Promise. Which it's a whole
Agreed.
different ball game.
100% totally different band.
Okay. Well, I think we're pretty much done. I want to thank you very much for the interview. I totally appreciate you doing this. Means a lot to me as a fan of, the music that you created over the years. And, it's been a big influence on myself and a lot of other people from my generation. So we thank you very much for everything.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And it's very flattering, man. It's coming from you. It's very flattering. You're a great musician yourself. And I really appreciate your time, man. I do. It's very cool of you.
Thank you very much. And, yeah, I guess just I'll finish this off with saying that, if you could like and subscribe to the Rock Fantasy Files, and also, you know, purchase records from independent record stores if you can, instead of the big box stores, because, well, obvious reasons. You want to support small business, support people that actually love music and are doing it for the right reasons, not, these big companies that can care less about us. So, thank you very much. And again, Rick, I really appreciate it. And all I can say is thank you again for all the great shows, great music, and, giving me your time. I totally appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Take care of yourself, man.